Hey, I just wanted to talk real quick on something that maybe a lot of Mosin owners out there don't really know. And I shot this Mosin today, and I had to do a little bit of fine tuning on the ejector and the interrupter system on it. Now, the Mosin Nagant has a interrupter that provides tension to the ejection system, or the ejector rather, in order to feed correctly. And a lot of the times, a Mosin Nagant isn't really a fine finished gun. A lot of people complain about rim lock, and they complain about the rounds jumping out or whatever, and they say, well, it's just a bad gun. Well, if you take the gun apart and just adjust the tension on that bent piece of metal, because basically how much angle you have that bend at is going to determine how much tension you have on your interrupter and on your ejector, which makes a huge difference in a reliable Mosin and a not reliable Mosin. For example, there's one Mosin Nagant video out there. It was done by Nut and Fancy, and he had a Duracoated Mosin, and he was shooting. I think it's called Arctic Ops Mosin Nagant or something like that. And he was complaining of rim lock. And the primary cause of rim lock, there's other reasons out there, but down in here you have the interrupter. The interrupter is a little tang that comes out here. It prevents, when you chamber around, it prevents the other round from jumping up past a certain point to where the rims touch each other and causes that rim lock. So if your interrupter is working correctly, you're not going to experience that rim lock that some people experience. So if you're having that issue, you need to look at the angle of that tab, see if it's even working correctly. The round might be jumping up. Now, along with that note, right here, this piece, this is the ejector. This is the ejector, and this is also a guide right here that guides the round in. So what this does is when you load all the rounds, and let's say you fire a round, eject the round, another round's going to kick up, because as the round comes back, it pushes on this, which pushes down the interrupter. It lets one round come up. So as the old spent round is being ejected out, when it hits this little knob right here, it gets kicked out, another round jumps up, and this right here stops a round. If there's not enough tension on this piece, the round will jump up too high. But in any case, it stops a round. In turn, the interrupter stops the round below it and keeps it from getting into that rim lock situation. Then you can go ahead and chamber. So you want to be able to adjust this so there's not too much tension and not too little. If there's too much tension, the interrupter is going to work too well, and when you kick the round out, it's not going to move back far enough to pick up the next round. If you have too little tension on this, basically what's going to happen is when you chamber around, it's basically going to come up and it's going to push this in as it comes up, and it's going to kick up like so. And that's the issue I was having a little bit today. And this happens, I mean, when you take Mosin Nagants apart, especially when you're refinishing, doing any type of gunsmithing work or whatever, it happens. When you take that little screw out and you take this piece off, sometimes there's just a little bit of a bend that you just don't put back into the metal piece, and just a little bit less tension. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you right now. Let me move the camera here and reposition it just a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see. All right. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this, but I'm going to use 5 empty 7.62 by 54 shells. So these are empty, mainly because I live in a neighborhood and I do not like messing with live ammunition, especially something like this that can go through many houses. So anyway, I have 5 rounds, just empty casings loaded. So there's my first one, it's chambered. Pull the trigger, bang. There's my second one, bang. Third, fourth. A little bobble on the fifth, but that's okay because it's an empty casing. Just caught on the feed ramp there, and then bang. So basically, what this tells me is if this gun is feeding at least 90% correctly, I mean, granted, one casing just caught on the inner chamber here, it's still fed out of the magazine, the internal magazine itself just fine. That tells me my angle is perfect. There's enough tension, it's keeping the other round from coming up, causing rim lock, and there's enough tension to where this round is at a perfect feed angle, so that way I'm able to feed a round with no bullet. It's feeding very well into the chamber and it's not jumping up too high. So just something to think about. And if your Mosin is having a little bit of issues, just check that out. And you know, it's something easy that you can fix on your own. I can go more in depth into it if you like, because again, Mosins, they're not really a well-finished product. There's a lot of variances between one Mosin and another, between something like a 1936 like you see here, and maybe a wartime Mosin 1942 or whatnot. The machine work can vary, so you might have to tweak it a little bit, but once you get it tweaked, you have a very smooth running gun. So alright, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope this video was informative. Stay safe.